And the objective of this discussions today is to have discussions on technology advancement and for the infrastructure development in with collaborations between this organizations between of these two countries. So we are very keen and we are very delighted to partner with the Trade Commission. And this is a virtual meeting, but we would like to have have a very in-depth discussion, and we would like to have an interactive session which should be very effective. And we look forward to having meaningful discussions today. And with these words, I would request Mr. Sudeep Datta, who is the chairman of the ICC National Infrastructure Committee, to please give his opening remarks. Mr. Datta, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, I would like to welcome Ms. Jennifer K, Trade Commissioner and First Secretary, High Commissioner of Canada. Mr. Arjun Datta, Trade Commissioner, and with whose efforts I think we are having this session. Dr. O.P. Agarwal, our co-chair in ICC, the colleagues from ICC, and all the participants in this roundtable. I'd like to especially welcome all the participants from the Canadian companies. Really a pleasure and privilege for us to have this virtual session. I think Canada and India have a very strong, long-standing bilateral relationship, which is based on our shared traditions of democracy and a lot of people-to-people connect. We do have a sizable population of Indians in Canada. And we also have been able to develop a strong trading ties, but I do feel that there is a lot more that we can do between India and Canada. And we're looking at collaborating at various sectors such as pharmaceutical, earth minerals, tourism, urban infrastructure, renewable developments, mining, food security, R&D, innovations, etc. Just to give a little bit of perspective on where India is, I think India is looking for a very strong recovery after the drop in COVID. We're looking at a GDP growth of excess of 9%, which I think is a very, very strong growth. And we expect to maintain this GDP growth in the next 5 to 10 years, in the next 5 years, which would see India's economy coming up as one of the most leading developing economies in the world. And I think for this, we really look forward to support from all the international companies in it. So I don't think I'll take any more time. I think it would be better that we move on to the main agenda, which is the presentations of the company. But before that, request Dr. Agarwal to make an opening address, and then we can take this forward. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Sudeep, and welcome everyone on behalf of ICC and Sudeep. Let me use the few minutes to talk a little bit about the Northeast per se. Some of the challenges that one sees in the Northeast, having worked in that region for almost 25 years, I thought it would be good for me to just mention a little bit about the Northeast per se. So one of the biggest challenges in the Northeast has always been what we used to call its geographical isolation from mainland India. So distance from mainland India always made it difficult for any kind of economic development or industrial development to happen in the Northeast. You always had to look for either the market being in the Northeast or the raw materials being in the Northeast. But sometime in the early 2000s, a kind of new thinking developed there. New thinking was, why are we looking at the Northeast only as being on the periphery of mainland India? Why not look at the Northeast as being the kind of a bridge between South Asia and East Asia? Now, with this in mind, the government of India started something called this Look East policy. And the objective then became, can we improve mobility or transport infrastructure in the Northeast so that it begins to function as a good bridge between East Asia and South Asia? So I think the big need in the Northeast today is really a strengthening of that transport infrastructure. Whether it's roads, whether it's rail, whether it's inland waterways. There's a lot of scope for inland waterways there. How will that be able to help in enabling better trade going through that region? Obviously, if you have a lot of trade happening through that region, the region itself will grow. But that was really the thinking of how that, the communication infrastructure in the Northeast can be improved. In any case, it's an area which is pretty rich in raw materials. Economically and industrially, it hasn't developed very much. Part of it was because of, a law and order situation that had happened earlier. I think that's all in the past. Today, it's in a very different situation and a very highly potential area for investments. So let me also leave it with that and pass it back to go on with the main session. Thanks very much.
Can I request Ms. Jennifer Kay, Trade Commissioner and First Secretary, High Commission of Canada, to give the Canada overview?
Thank you very much, Sudeep. Bonsoir, bonjour à tous et à toutes. Good morning and good evening, depending on where you are. My name is Jennifer Kay, and I'm the Sector Lead for Infrastructure and Clean Tech for the Trade Commissioner Service based at the High Commission of Canada in New Delhi. First, I would like to congratulate the National Infra Committee of the Indian Chamber of Commerce for organizing this virtual roundtable, which brings Canadian and Indian companies together to discuss collaboration on opportunities in infrastructure in East and Northeastern India. Thank you all for joining, and thank you for facilitating this. Canada attaches strong importance to India and is committed to strengthening bilateral relations across India. On the business front, over the past 5 years, the Canada-India economic relationship has seen record growth across every measurement, and it is becoming increasingly clear that India is one of Canada's fastest growing economic partners. This is approaching a $100 billion Canadian dollar relationship. Canada is at the forefront of innovation. We have a long tradition of finding innovative ways to drive our prosperity, help build clean and sustainable cities, and find solutions to pressing problems related to areas such as infrastructure, health, water, and climate change. Canada wants to work with India, with Indian companies and Indian entrepreneurs. We want to share the best technologies and to lead inclusive growth. A case in point is IBI Group's contribution to the Bhubaneswar Smart City, and Lee Associates South Asia's contribution to multiple infrastructure projects in northeastern India. To make India a world-class economy, infrastructure continues to be the focus area for the Indian government, which envisages investment of about, this is American dollars, $1.4 trillion on infrastructure between 2019 and 2023. In this regard, Eastern India and Northeastern India have strategic importance in connecting India with Southeast Asia, while also being key to India's Look East policy, to which was already referred earlier. This part of the country is on an infrastructural growth path in terms of urbanization, mobility, and logistics infrastructure. The government of India is focusing on the development of transport infrastructure through a $32.2 billion budget allocation, again, American dollars, with 100% FDI permitted across various infrastructure sectors like railways, real estate and housing, roads. India has particularly attracted both domestic as well as international players, including, of course, Canadian investors. There has been a significant rise in private sector involvement in various infrastructure segments like roads, communication, airports, and railways, largely in the PPP or P3, public-private partnerships mode. The COVID-19 pandemic has made the past 2 years challenging, and we have had to learn new ways of doing things. We have also learned that there is an even stronger need to make infrastructure digitally compliant, with the adoption of niche technologies in project execution, real-time monitoring, cloud-based collaboration, AI usage, artificial mapping, drone inspections, non-destructive testing, and building information modeling, among other items. India is expected to become the third largest construction market by 2022. That's this year, 2022. This presents opportunities for technological interventions in housing and real estate development, energy efficient and affordable building materials, and sustainable building solutions, among other areas. The infrastructure sector in India presents significant opportunities for commercial collaboration for Canadian companies across several areas. Some Canadian companies have a significant presence in India through their equity investments in roads and highways, commercial real estate, logistics, hospitality infrastructure, inspection systems, and many other segments. Through this virtual consultation, we will try to highlight the infrastructure technologies of 5 Canadian companies with the aim of forging collaboration on technology and advancement for efficient infrastructure development, as well as the maintenance of existing infrastructure assets. We hope you will find them relevant. I strongly feel that collaborative initiatives driven by industry will provide greater opportunity to demonstrate successes and excellence in commercialization. The Canadian Trade Commissioner Service is a key resource for Indian companies seeking to do business and source goods, services, and technologies from Canada or looking to partner with Canadian firms. Our network of more than 50 trade commissioners in 8 trade offices is spread across India to support India's economic development in all regions of the country. We're good at making introductions and creating partnerships that benefit Canada and India. I would like to thank you for your commitment to and interest in this vital sector, and I wish you all the best for this roundtable. Merci. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I request Arjun Datta to now take this forward with the presentations of the Canadian companies.
So may I first call upon Challenger Manufacturing to come forward and showcase like what they can do.
Right. So thanks a lot. First of all, I would like to thank you for providing us this opportunity where we can present ourselves in different front of different dignitaries associated with different fields. So good evening, all of you. I would like to, first of all, I present myself. I am. I hope I am audible to everyone.
Yes, you're audible. Please go ahead.
Right. Thank you. So I am Tushar Gupta. I am here to represent Challenger Sweepers. It's a subsidiary of a Canadian company named Challenger Manufacturing. So basically, Challenger Road Sweepers is a company. We manufacture road sweeper machines, which are 100% mechanical. We do not use a vacuum system in our machines. So this is how we are different from other technologies. We have our assembly plant in Pune, and from there on, we handle all parts of India. I am responsible for northern region, northeast, and eastern part of India. So let's take this ahead. Sir, I would request you to, if we can go to the next page of the slide. Thank you, sir. So basically, Challenger Manufacturing was established in Alberta, Canada back in 2016. And this weather conditions are extremely heavy there. So the robust machines which can efficiently clean the roads were in demand during that time back in Canada. So since the USP of the Challenger Road Sweeper is that they are highly fuel efficient and very low on operational cost. So this is how the company worked on the technology to keep both the operational costs at a lower side. So Challenger Sweepers, they mount their module on a truck chassis. So what we do in India, we mount the entire road sweeper module on Tata truck chassis, and then we supply those machines to different municipal corporations, to private contractors who are engaged in sweeping work, and directly to the municipal corporations or PWD departments, or the ports as well. So can we go to the next slide, please? So currently we have more than 1,000 units operational in US, Canada, and India. The company is almost 15 years old, in work, has a working experience in all these countries. And we are certified with the PM10 certificate from an organization called PAMI. It's an Canadian organization only. They have certified our machines that we are PM10 compliant. The next slide. So this is how this technology works. So basically in mechanical sweeper, there are two technologies are there in the market which have truck mounted system. So first technology is based out of vacuum system, and the next is mechanical sweeper, which is ours. And in this technology, there are no use of vacuum system in the road sweepers. So this is how the we have two large side brushes, one conveyor belt, and one large broom. And uh, seeing the Indian road conditions where the debris uh, are of high amount, so we can see every sort of debris available on India, from tin to can to glass to clothes, even cow dung, and etc. So dust is just a single thing, but we are able to see different types of debris. So in our road sweepers, our side brushes cut the uh, debris, dust from the sides, that brings the entire system into the center. And from center, with the help of this large brush, the debris goes up from this conveyor belt to the hopper. This is how our system works. We do not use a vacuum system in our road sweepers. So that is why we do not, our machines doesn't require higher amount of HP engines. So we have a auxiliary engine available in our machines, which is of just 59 horsepower. And again, it is of Japanese Kubota made engine. So number one, which is again, if lower the amount of power we have in our auxiliary engine, the diesel will be saved. Second, we can empty our hopper any at the site only. We need not to go to the landfill sites. So this is another additional advantage our machines has. We can take our hopper up in the air up to 3 meters, and we can empty that on right hand side into the another vehicle. We can, our side brushes are made up of spring steel material with combination of plastic. So due to which we can even sweep uneven surfaces, because the spring steel has this technology that it comes back into its shape once it's pressed against the roads, whereas plastic got deformed. Next good thing about our machine is are mounted on Tata chassis, which is easily serviceable at any part of the country. So next slide. So this is the fleet we have. This is the 14 machine fleet we currently own at. We have supplied at Surat Municipal Corporation. So now again they are looking for more machines, and we know the Surat has recently came to second place in Swachh Bharat Sarvekshan as well. So they are very much satisfied with our machines and want more machines to be supplied in the future. The next. So this is our presence in India. If we talk about, since 2018, when we got operational in the country after creating infrastructure, we have 14 machines in Surat and at the ports in Warangal Municipal Corporation. So almost at every corner of the country, we are available. So now we seriously are looking to gain some business in the northeastern part and eastern part of the country as well. So, sir, next slide, please. These are the performance certificates which we got from different organizations. Number one, this JSW port. We got this mail from the JSW port only on the performance that our machine impact was created, and they are highly satisfied. Next is from Surat Municipal Corporation. They also have given us this performance certificate after getting satisfied with our machines. The next slide. So this is PM10 certificate, which I was talking about earlier. This is the organization called PAMI, belongs to Canada only. They gave us this certificate. So in India, we require PM10, PM2.5 certificates, which usually municipal corporations ask for. So we have both these certificates ready with us. The next slide, please. So this is the different technologies that Challenger sweepers and any other vacuum machines has. Our auxiliary engine is of very low power, which is of just 59 HP, whereas vacuum sweeper need to have 130, 150 HP. Our hopper is also 100% can be utilized, whereas the vacuum sweepers need they consume 30% of the entire capacity of their hopper with these sprinklers, filters, and blowers. Our side brooms, which we have in our machine, are of larger diameter, whereas in other machines, they use a smaller diameter machine for diameter brushes. Next is the dirt collected from the road. The dirt stays in the same form that we collect from the road, whereas due to the usage to suppress the dust in the hopper, vacuum sweeper has to sprinkle water again and again in their hopper, due to which the dirt gets in the form of slurry kind of a material. When they throw them on the landfill site, nothing can be separated out, whereas we can separate the particles which is needed from our debris, like steel. If we use our machines in any steel plant, currently we have at KMNS plant as well 4 machines running there. The next. So this is the variable height hopper which I was talking about. So our machine can empty itself on site in the other vehicle. Our chassis is of a smaller, just 11-ton chassis it is, and it has a very low turning radius of 5400 mm, whereas the other vacuum sweeper has to be mounted on 16-ton, 18-ton chassis, which require the larger space to work, and it creates sometimes traffic problems as well. So next slide, please. So this is all from our side. So thanks a lot for bringing us at the platform to present ourselves. We are really thankful. Any queries, any questions, please. I'm ready for cater that.
Thank you, Tushar. May I now call upon Amit Anand from Prism Group. They specialize in IoT and AI solutions across several industries, and their product applicability are there in student transportation safety, precision tracking and fleet management, intelligent personal monitoring, smart cities, and sustainability. So over to Amit.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to present at such an elite panel. Good morning to my colleagues in Canada, and good evening to folks in India. Next slide, please. You can go next slide, please. So we are based out of Edmonton, Canada. We started our company in 2016, specializing in Internet of Things and artificial intelligence technology, combining the power of both technology stack and really providing better services, better tools and software to our citizens. It's our citizen-centric services focusing on the safety, security, whether for our own kids, whether for our folks from the senior community, or people working alone in the construction, in the infrastructure space. And lately, our solutions been deployed in the smart city space, specifically in the India market segment. As we speak, we have deployed over close to 3,000 sensors that are in the smart city space. Next slide, please. So from a safety of school children perspective, one of the challenges we saw worldwide is monitoring of kids where the satellite signals or the telecom communications cell towers are not available in remote sites or even locally sometimes in urban development as well. How do we provide that better safety for our own children, leveraging the Internet of Things technology where we can automate the process? Our focus always been on automation itself. So where we see our technology within the infrastructure side of the project is either to be integrated in the existing infrastructure, whether it's existing school buildings, facilities, or if there are new schools planned, we really want to embed this smart technology right inside along those infrastructure projects. Continuation with the school buses as well. So we're working with a lot of bus operators as well, where we embed our smart technology into the school buses itself. We are also partnering with fleet management software providers. We have that particular offering as well for the larger transportation companies, whether offering long route truck hauls or buses, interstate buses, and so on and so forth. So really connecting your brick and mortars building with your moving objects as well, providing that continuation of monitoring, tracking of the passengers, whether they're schools or school children's or whether they're normal passengers. So we are working with few of the transit operators as well. Next slide, please. This is one of the solution offerings. Our solution contains three basic components. So one is the sensors that connects to either a smart device using, again, the IoT communication stack, the protocol stack, along with the gateways. And then we have mobile apps and a comprehensive web portal for the administrators or the school bus operators or bus operators in general that provides real-time information of their passengers, of their fleets, allowing them to increase efficiencies and improvement in their current business processes for better decision making. So to give you an example, we have saved over 70% of daily communication between, let's say, a bus driver and the administrator over their radius. That has improved safety of the buses on the road itself, and providing the transparency of their driver's behavior, where they're idling or not idling, the fuel consumption, the safety of the kids from the parents, and so on and so forth. Next slide, please. So from a market perspective, it's actually, so we did a little bit of comparison slide as we operated in North America and in the India market segment as well. So from the market size perspective, again, India is very massive. Based on our studies, there's over 100 million of students that take school transportation on a daily basis. We are providing the solutions currently in 4 states, I believe, right now, and growing there. So this is one of the solutions we would definitely like to offer in the eastern and the northeastern part of the country, where we would love to work with partners that are already operating in that particular segment. Next slide, please. The other part of our product offering is this is one of the product offering that we're really proud of, where we also got recognition from organizations like NASA to come and demonstrate how this technology works. So one of the challenge we noticed in the infrastructure and construction type projects is there are workers working alone, and safety is one of their #1 concerns. How do we reduce the casualty and monitor them in an effective way? So we built a smart wearable device that has embedded artificial intelligence, which has more than over 200 algorithms processing right locally on the device itself, which could be leveraged for aging population, for seniors in that particular community itself, embedded inside the healthcare facilities, seniors facilities. Again, if there are new projects on the eastern and northeastern side, specifically for those target populations, but definitely people working on the infrastructure and large construction site. So that's one of the wearable devices that we built. It offers a lot of other capabilities as well, which I'll talk about on the next slide, please. So some of the key features that our device offers is autonomous fall detection. That has a very high accuracy rate. We all probably know that the Apple Watch came out with that functionality as well. We did some comparison. We did a lot of R&D on that, and we're proud to say that our accuracy level was much higher than the Apple Watch. And there's other safety features that we have added is not in motion or anomaly motion alerts. We have actually implemented a real-time stress capability as well. We implemented a voice bot that recognizes a vulnerability and the threat levels without any pushing any button. So the entire wearable device completely works in an autonomous fashion. We call it a personal security safety guard that a person can wear. It works both in an indoor and outdoor setting, leveraging our IoT stack. So one of the key features of IoT stack is it provides real-time location monitoring services in an indoor setting without requiring the need of, again, a telecom connectivity or cell tower connectivity. Next slide, please. Again, the market is huge. Again, from an India market size perspective. That's one of the researchers. Again, we focused on comparing Canadian market, US, and the India market. And we would love to bring this technology in the eastern and northern eastern part of the country. Next slide, please. So I'm glad the previous presenter talked about the Swachh Bharat mission, and under that mission, we are working with the municipalities of India right now as we speak. What we are helping them is providing a better monitoring, transparency, and accountability of their clean initiatives that have been implemented in the local cities, ensuring the garbage collection activities are being properly serviced by the third-party contractors. We're providing a better assurance of the services to the municipalities and the citizens of that municipality itself, leveraging our Internet of Technology stack in the India market segment. We did pilot in about a couple cities, and those small pilots turned into large pilots where, as of now, we have deployed over 3,000 sensors, and we are in talks with some of the cities to commercialize this technology across the municipality itself. The vision is really to offer this more from a citizen-centric services to connect all the services that are delivered by the municipality to the citizens of that city itself. So whether it's garbage collection, whether it's water meter reading, whether it's electric power reading, or sweeping of the services, so on and so forth. So creating that awareness, creating that transparency and accountability of all those services delivered by municipalities to their citizens at the end of the day. And also at the same time helping municipality to increase their tax revenues, tax dollars, the fees that they are expected to collect from the citizens, providing the evidence that the services are delivered, in fact, by the municipalities to their citizens. That's one of the challenges we heard from the municipality as well. So we're working on that front as well through our platform. Next slide, please. So this is one of the ways that we are implementing the solution. So really, we're taking a brick and mortar house, and one of the applications that we recently applied in the India market segment is manufacturing a smart address plate. So a unified address plate for every household in that city, embedded with our sensors, placed outside their house. So again, it doesn't matter whether you're a postal worker, you're a garbage cleaner, or whoever, helping them recognize the address of that particular residence, plus connecting that smart address plate to our IoT stack. So that the solution could be scaled, like I said, to all the services or the service delivery organizations for that city, and creating that one single portal, providing that the transparency of the services delivered to that particular household through our IoT stack again. And it's been going really well. We are expanding that offering into multiple cities, and that's one of the solutions we would love to bring to that to the northern eastern part of the country as well, working with partners in that segment. Next slide, please. Again, the market in India is massive. There are over 200 cities that falls into that category that have a mission, again, from the central government to implement such type of initiatives, ensuring from a garbage collection activities perspective that there is a technology implemented to offer that monitoring services. Next slide, please. So one of the key differentiators, what we have is we have our own patented signal processing technology, which we're currently advancing even to the next level. We have our own in-house AI framework that we have embedded, and we focus on completely automating the processes that an organization have implemented. Just to give you another example, so as the government of the state government saw the success of our garbage collection activity, we've been approached by the government to take that exact same technology and implement in the healthcare sector, where we can monitor the utilization, the resource utilization, staff utilization in a hospital setting. You know, do we have enough doctors to provide services to, such as patients with COVID? Our hospitals are getting cleaned in a timely basis? Do we have adequate staff in the ICU facility? So we are working with some of the state governments to take our technology and implement in a healthcare setting as well. But to give you another example, we're working locally with our own city of Edmonton right now, helping them monitor snow dump trucks. So we have remote sites, again, kind of like collecting garbage. Here we collect snow, tons and tons of snow, and we dump outside of the city. We have snow dump yards where there is no real infrastructure built in, but through our IoT technology with our sensors, we are now monitoring the movements of those trucks. And again, this is not GPS based. This is completely outside of that, enabling city to monitor in real time how many the snow dump trucks are coming in and out, how many loads are there, what does the site capacity looks like. So help them to improve or build new infrastructure. So that's how we're helping and working closely with the infrastructure-based organization to offer those opportunities in different sectors. Next slide, please. So we're three co-founders of our startup. So I'm Amit, as you know, so I bring about 20 plus years of experience in the technology sector itself. My co-founder Manish, he's been in IT for 30 years, building AI solutions long before AI got such a recognition. He was the first one to build how to recognize a signature using artificial intelligence. And one of his solutions that he built is being used by almost 80% of dairy producers in India. And another co-founder, Navsharan, he's actually based out of India, runs a very large fleet of management, and we're supported by a lot of esteemed organizations locally here in Canada, offering us sound advice, creating those partnerships and networks. Next slide, please. So in terms of our company itself, so as mentioned, we were one of the top finalists at the NASA competition. So believe it or not, I was pitching to the NASA chief scientist, which was a pretty amazing experience. One thing I figured, they're all humans like us as well. They like to laugh, and they like to have a good time too, which was pretty intimidating experience at times, but it was fun. We've been top IoT companies at different accelerators as well, locally here in Canada. Next slide, please. This is our progression timelines, where we started, where we're at right now. So we're at the point to scale our company, take it to the next level, and really deploying our solutions in different market segments, specifically in India. We have our local software development shop, our research and development shop in India itself. And our manufacturing of our sensors, of our electronics are actually done in India as well. So we are very proud of that we can tap into that talent. And we are looking to grow that talent in the India market itself, because it's massive, and we want to keep the boots on the ground and grow that as much as we can. Next slide, please. And I really would like to thank you once again for the opportunity provided to us this morning. And thank you, Payal, specifically for getting us onto this panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anand. Next, I call upon Guardian Fire Shield. They are a self-activated fire suppression technology. And one of the key differences between the traditional one and this technology is, whereas a traditional fire system takes about 4 minutes to start triggering off once there is a fire incident, this does it in few seconds. So, and another thing which I wanted to highlight to this panel is Guardian Fire Shield has partnered with a Kolkata-based company called RMC Heat Recovery, and they are in the process of setting up the company and making in India. So over to Alex. Is it Alex or James? Because your name shows as James.
I think it's Alex. Yes, Alex Stewart. And Alex, are you
Alex,
hearing?
you are muted. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Arjuna, I want to thank the panel for extending the invitation to Planet Halo Security Inc. To come on to this forum this morning. And there are 3 brief presenters. I'm going to be very, very brief. I'm the founder of Planet Halo Security, co-founder and inventor of Guardian Fire Shield, a Canadian design manufactured, aerospace manufactured auto fire suppression technology. I want to acknowledge the thanks to the Canadian Trade Commission, the Canadian Global Affairs Canada, Export Financing, and the Canadian government as a whole for the extraordinary support it gives Canadian companies in entering into international markets. I take with great pride the opportunity of introducing my partner, Mr. Jain, Vinoy Jain of RMC Recovery Power Corp, who will be our joint venture partner in the establishment and manufacturing of Guardian Fire Shield in the Indian market. And I'd like to have Vinoy say a few words before we turn it over to our Vice President of Operations and Marketing.
Thanks, Alex. Gentlemen, good evening, good morning. This is Vinod Jain, and we are RMC Power, almost a 20 years old established company in India. Our core sector is aerospace, but because of the interesting product, we have decided to join hands with the Guardian Fire Shield. So hopefully we are looking forward that to introduce a new technology in the firefighting system in Indian market. So I would not take much more time. Thanks a lot to the Canadian team to give us this opportunity. Mr. Raj Chaudhary will make this small presentation to understand what we are offering. We have in offerings.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Vinod. So fire has been a devastating cause in India for past few years that I have seen in the news and headlines that there are a lot of death and it has been occurring more and more frequently than before due to the progress of the economic status and the progress of the country. It kind of goes hand in hand, but at the same time, the lack of controlling the breakouts of the fire seems to be quite prevalent as well as the timing passing on. So we are here to present you with a very new technology that, to our knowledge, does not exist. It's a patented technology, and we'd like to introduce that to the Indian market and the Northeast Indian market. So it's a quick comparison that when there is a fire breaks out, typically, as Arjun was telling us, that it takes about 4 minutes to evacuate the premises. Now, in that 4 minutes, somebody has to be there. If there is a fire extinguisher present, somebody has to be there, operate it, and try to extinguish the fire. So not only it is a cumbersome, unsafe process, but also the person inside who is fighting the fire is in danger. As opposed to this new product that we are introducing to you today is completely automatic. It has a sensor that triggers and activates the fire suppressant, and it extinguishes the fire within minutes. And again, this is completely automatic. It can be operated without any person physically present or involved. So that interestingly brings in quite a few aspects of this tool. Firstly, it is naturally 24/7. So even after hours, the shop's closed or the offices is closed or wherever it is installed, it can trigger. It does not require any external energy source, such as electricity, or neither it requires an external fire suppressant, such as water that we are familiar with in sprinkler system. So hence it is quite maintenance-free and it does not require constant monitoring either. Next slide, please. So one of the interesting things about this product is it can be set at any temperature to trigger. So 60 degrees centigrade is the minimum, and that actually works out quite well in India, being so sometimes the weather can get pretty hot. Probably I'm from Calcutta, and I heard that it's approaching close to 40 degrees. So 60 degrees the minimum temperature that we have set, and it can go up depending on the application of this product. So if it is used in a hotter environment, maybe inside a factory where there's a boiler and it's pretty hot in the surrounding, can change the sensitivity of the trigger, increase the temperature, the trigger temperature. The components for this product is UL certified, and we are actually in the process of obtaining or transferring the certification over to an Indian market. It is also has IoT built in, and it is very similar to what Amit from Easy and Route was telling us, that it has built-in sensors which can be connected to a home security system, or it can be monitored remotely. So what that the feature for monitoring the unit, I'll come to it a bit later, but it can be connected to IoT system through home security. The other thing is that it has an automatic coverage of 265 square feet area, which is approximately 16 by 16. And based on our research shows that that's pretty much the size of the room it can go. But if the room is bigger than that, there could be more than one unit installed and work in tandem at the same time. So that's a pretty big area. It's way bigger than what a sprinkler head will cover. 256 is generally is good enough for a home situation. It is heat activated, so there is no false alarm. There is no false alarm involved, And it is the fire suppressant that is going to be applied and activated is very easy to clean up. So what we find out in general fire situation, that if it is a water-based, which majority of the fire suppression system is, that after the water is sprinkled onto the substrate under fire, it is pretty much written off. So imagine if it is a clothing store, a sari store, or even a repository of documents, if it is a warehouse or a record room, even server rooms where the electronic systems are there. If you sprinkle water on it, it's pretty much written off. As opposed to this system that we are presenting is in actually a powder form. And all you need to do is to vacuum the powder out, and the content under fire, unless there's a fire damage to it, there is no surrounding damage. So the record shows us that the money lost due to fire is more so for the product lost due to the course of firefighting, as water or foam or whatsoever is conventionally used. So this is a very clean product, and this is non-toxic and environmentally friendly. So there is no other harmful effect of this particular fire suppressant that we have in place. Next slide, please. Some of the applications, again, it can be applied everywhere. There is no limitation or restriction for this product. It can be in a room, in an office, in warehouse, even it can be in moving object, such as, for example, a railway car or a pantry car, inside a bus or a big vehicle, inside, as I said, a factory, or it has, there is no restriction for utilizing this product. Now, as opposed to the fire-based system, which you need to have a water supply, you probably need to have a pump to maintain the pressure, and so on and so forth. This is a self-contained unit, not too big, and it can be carried around. It weighs about 7 pounds. It's extremely durable, and installation is extremely easy. So it can be used pretty much everywhere. Next slide, please. So for the technology roadmap, where we are is this commercially tested product. It can be hardwired with the existing fire panel, and it can collect data and information through its built-in sensor onto the fire panel and the monitoring station for any fire emergency. It has, as I said, all the patented parts that's being developed and manufactured in Canada right now. We are looking for taking this technology and the products into India, and we have partnered up with RMC Technologies, as Arjun mentioned, and we do plan to start manufacturing in India. We do plan to take the technology into India, and the patented parts, which are few in, will be manufactured in Canada and shipped over. So it's going to be an Indo-Canadian technology exchange, whereas the majority of the parts for the product and the assembly would take place in India. Another point I would like to mention before we move away from this slide is the data mining. So since this is an IoT device, it can collect data, and the value of data to, for example, say the fire monitoring companies can produce a lot of intelligence and can be harvested to improve the infrastructure, harvest to improve the system, and also it maintains continuity with the product performance if there is any issues with it, can be remotely monitored. Next slide, please. So the competitive advantage for this product, again, just to repeat myself, it's automatic. No manual intervention is required. It does not have any water-based suppressant, which is always messy and cumbersome. It has relatively much lower cost, in a sense that the price of the unit is going to be extremely competitive for Indian market. It will be highly affordable. At the same time, it does not require much maintenance or monitoring over the period of time. We have a warranty and a guarantee program. We are estimating within first 5 years, there would be absolutely no need to provide any maintenance. The shelf life of the product will be 10 years. And at that time, we are implementing a recycling program that actually that product can be refurbished on spot or replaced. So there is a very little waste coming out to the landfill for this product. The management team is Alex Stewart, James Alex Stewart. I also sometimes get confused with his 3 names. He sometimes uses 2 out of 3 names. So Alec is the managing director. He is responsible for developing the international partnership. Patrick is the marketing and sales, the director of marketing and sales. Myself, I'm the director of marketing and VP of operations for the Indian wing of Guardian Fire Shield. And Mr. Jain is a strategic partner with us through his company, RMC Power Recovery. He is also the director of manufacturing for Guardian Fire Shield. Next slide, please. So our office of Guardian Fire Shield is in Kolkata or Calcutta. It's in West Bengal, and we have launched the Indian website. We're developing the content of the website. So the website is guardianfireshield.in. Please feel free to check out the website. Let us know your comments and thoughts. Also, there is an email and phone number there for you to contact us. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Payal. Thank you all for hearing me out.
Thank you, Mr. Roy Chaudhary. May I now call upon Ankit Pachpai of Russell ND Systems Inc. Ankit is not new to the Northeast. In fact, he has visited Northeast and visited various like oil and gas assets in the Northeast. Today he's here to discuss about a smart technology for determining asset integrity of aging pipeline infrastructure, which is a problem many of us have seen or faced in India. Over to Ankit. Ankit, you there?
Yes, Arjun, thank you. Thank you to TCS team, and they have been very generous and very efficient over the years as in 1.5 decades in taking us and making the bridges, successful bridges. And Northeast is no different. I have had a chance to visit Guwahati, Numaligarh, and Digboi refinery. So had a lot of interactions with Oil India as well, Indian Oil Corporation, mostly for oil and gas. This is the first time interacting with the municipal agencies. Next slide, please. Russell Group of Companies is celebrating their 50th anniversary next month, and about 15 years of operations in India. Mostly they were for oil and gas and power generation, and their contractors like L&T, etc. But today, it's the first time, actually not the first time, second time. The first time was an interaction with the Indian Societies for Trenchless Technologies. That's where we were talking about portable water lines. This time, it's more focused on water and wastewater. Next slide, please. The presentation, the short presentation, is divided into two components. One is the usage of smart technologies proactively, and second is usage of smart technologies reactively. So the first component is proactively. Here is a picture from California where a sinkhole is formed due to a leaking asset. Next slide, please. And here is a consequence of that sinkhole. So if we are deploying the smart technologies proactively, we would save the asset from leaking and eventually save the sinkholes from formations. Next slide, please. This is a video. Can you please click on the video? No. Please go back and click on that video.
Ankit, I believe this is a PDF version, so the video might not play. Probably what we could do is we could share the videos with the audience subsequent to the presentations.
Okay, sounds good. No worries. So this is a leaking asset in Taiwan. The reason I put the east to west is we as a company never differentiated a geographical location of the asset. We only focused on the asset and how proactively we can customize a solution to prevent it from leaking, how we can do the proper and a professional asset integrity management program and calculate the remaining life of them and take the rehabilitation actions before they leak. So here in this video, when it is shared with you, you'll see that the blessing of this leakage, this is a 30-inch steel line that blew, and it blew next to the river. So all the water was taken with the flow of the river. So bottom line is there was collateral damage, but significantly low. So we have been working over the past 5 decades in developing solutions for inspecting non-destructively. I'll emphasize on this keyword. Jennifer pointed this out. Thank you, Jennifer. Non-destructive, non-invasively, how we can inspect the steel and find the weak spots before it fails. Next slide, please. But on this road of professional asset integrity management program, there are no shortcuts. We have to be very diligent in making a 5-year or a 10-year term plan before we can come to a conclusion that the technology was good or not good. An expectation of a short-term result is not recommended. Next slide, please. Consequences of a force main failure or any failure, any asset failure, is local flooding, property damage, basements, potential injuries and loss of life. Cleanup costs. Environment Protection Agency fines if it is an oil and gas pipeline, or even if it is a pipeline carrying raw water into an industrial facility. Loss of production. Loss of production, repair costs, and the diversion costs. So these are the key factors that contribute and elevate the cost of the crisis management if we are not managing the asset proactively. Next slide, please. Solution is detect and repair before the asset fails. Cost for this inspection, cost for this non-destructive inspection using a smart and advanced technology looks high at the first, but then when it is compared to the collateral damage, it gets significantly low. And we have done the maths behind it. Depending on the asset, depending on the service of the asset, it is anywhere from 4 to 10% of the cost of the collateral damage. Next slide, please. So this is one of the scanners, one of the multi-sensor array scanner we have developed to inspect the pipe in a certain section. And this scanner, when it rolls over the pipe, it scans for internal and external damage on the pipe. It can inspect carbon steel, mild steel, cast iron, ductile iron, coated, insulated, or bare steel pipe. Please note, all these categories of assets have ferromagnetic steel in them. It can inspect through insulation. Most of the time you see in an oil and gas or a power facility, especially in Numaligarh and Digboy, the plant piping is insulated, above ground plant piping. The buried piping is coated depending on their service. The scanner is massive, so in one go, it scans a large area, and it's reasonably fast and accurate, giving a full kind of an MRI scanning of the asset. And it is good for detecting small defects. So if you are detecting and arresting small defects when the problem is small, then your asset management plan is good. Next slide, please. This is a picture when the project is going on in action. And this is a ductile iron force main. And you can see that the pipe is scanned at a certain clock position. And that clock position has internal damages because of the hydrogen sulfide formed at high spots. Now that hydrogen sulfide that is formed at high spots, it corrodes and eats the pipe internally. Eventually it fails. Now we all know that these assets are built not yesterday. These are really old assets, could be 5 or 6 decades old. There is no plan B for that. If a force main fails, it fails. Next slide, please. So in this case, in this particular case, it's a very special case. This one is in Florida. And the pressure release valve, which used to release the hydrogen sulfide formed at high spots, failed because it was not exercised. It was not exercised because the H2S gas is pungent. So the H2S was not released. It ate up the pipe and the pipe eventually failed. So the municipal agency, what they did is they excavated 5 meters upstream and downstream of each release valve that failed, with an assumption that if it failed, it had no release of H2S, and that's why the pipe might be failing. And that's why you can see that these two engineers, they are scanning the 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock position of the pipe, because the H2S gas is lighter than the sewage itself. So it accumulates on the high spots. Next slide, please. And here is the proof of the pudding. So from the bottom to top, if you look at this image as an MRI image of one of our organs, a medical study, then green to black is good to worse. Every color has its problem intensity. So green has no problem and black is about to fail. So this arrow that you see that is correlating to the image and to the pipe, it has more than 50% damage. So if the pipeline wall thickness is 5 or 6 millimeter thick, that means more than half of it is already eaten with hydrogen sulfide. Next slide, please. Here is another way of looking at the same data in a 3D view, where you can look at it and locate it actually longitudinally on the pipe and circumferentially, so that a proper repair or a rehab action could be taken. Next slide, please. Now, if it was not a force main, but if it was a raw water line. Now, in this case, the bottom two pictures that you see, this picture is from Calgary, and this is a raw water line taking the water from the dam to the treatment plant. This is carbon steel spiral welded 2-meter diameter pipeline. And because it is transporting raw water to protect the steel casing from corrosion, it is lined with internal cement liner. Now the technology is used to inspect the steel through the thick cement liner to find if there is any penetration of raw water through the liner and has attacked somehow the carbon steel pipe. Next slide, please. Here is the proof of the pudding. This is how the damages were scattered. We can always assume, no, we will not have any damages. As a municipal engineer, we can assume we don't have any damages because we have lined the pipe, but not really. Next slide, please. So there are a lot of considerations. I'm sure, Payal, these presentations would be shared by the audience, right?
Absolutely, it'll be a pleasure to share with everybody.
Sure, perfect. So I'll not go through these considerations. I'll let the audience read them through. And with this data, you can gauge how efficient the technology is. Most importantly, I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that there is no assumption. Every data point is gathered when the sensors are measuring that wall thickness real time. Every sample is taken every millimeter longitudinally and every millimeter circumferentially. So if there is a software that is calculating the fitness for service or remaining life assessment of the steel, then that software is only as good as the number of data points in it. Okay, next slide, please. Now, coming to the conclusion of the proactive technology, that it is very viable and very good to detect internal and external damages on any ferromagnetic steel asset through insulation or without insulation, through internal liner or without internal liner. Next slide, please. Now coming to the reactive model, should there be a leak in the pipeline, how to locate it, and together with locating the leak, how to measure other variables in the pipeline. So this is a piper. It's a small little ball, could be 2-inch or 3-inch in diameter, and it is let go with the flow in the pipeline. It is dropped from one access point, it flows with the product, and it comes out through another receive point, and it records a lot of data within the pipeline. It does a temperature log, it does a pressure log, it does XYZ geometry measuring, and a magnetic anomaly log. Now, in the next few slides, we'll see how that looks. Next slide, please. Here, you are looking on the graph, it looks like a ECG. So from the left to right, it's the data from launch to the receive, and it's a magnetic log. It senses the start and end of different pipe types and thicknesses. So for example, if there is a 10-kilometer section of a line transporting anything, but over the past 3 decades, it had major rehab and replacements. And if the replacements are done with not the same pipe type, then it will record the permeability, material variation, and the thickness variation. It will also record if there are external features, like in municipal pipelines, we have clamps and tees. It will record the location of those features. Next slide, please. And here is a diameter change slide. So from left to right is from launch to receive. If there was a small diameter variation, and which could easily be if the wall thickness changes, then the internal diameter changes. Next slide, please. Geolocation correlation survey. It has accelerometer and gyroscope on board, so which are very useful to measure the pitch and yaw in the line. And this measurement is very important because this eliminates the need to have above ground markers while the smart ball is traveling within the pipeline. And it's an operational comment. It always must be mounted on a foam peg to avoid physical damage to the piper. Next slide, please. Here are some launch and receive options. It could be launched through an hydrant and received through an hydrant. Receiving is done through a net. It's also an operational step, which I can discuss offline if somebody is interested. Next slide, please. This is top graph is a pressure log, and then the bottom graph is the height log. If there is any variation in the depth of burial of the line from launch to receive, it will record that as well. Next slide, please. With that said, I rest my case. Payal, Arjun, and Jennifer, thank you very much. I'm also thankful to all of the TCS team that have been very cooperative over the years, and some names are Saibal, Saroj, Vinay, and the list goes on. You are doing a fantastic job during COVID and post-COVID. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ankit. Now I call upon Prab, who's a partner with TraceCourse. TraceCourse is a construction management technology company headquartered in Canada with research and development, support, and implementation teams based out of New Delhi. TraceCourse helps infrastructure and construction projects drastically increase project efficiency and accountability by streamlining and mobilizing project communications and documentations. Over to you, Prab. Maybe you can explain how you achieve it.
Thank you so much, Arjun. And so good day to all present on the virtual roundtable today. And genuinely, my heart goes on to all the colleagues present in India. It's not easy to be patient on a Friday evening while listening to a lot of presentations. So we'll try and keep it brief. We understand there's a paucity of time. I'll quickly introduce myself. I'm Prab and I represent TraceCourse. As Mr. Datta mentioned, we are a software company based out of Calgary. We're fortunate that we have customers in North America. We have one of the largest real estate players in Canada as well as a customer on board now. We're with customers in Middle East and West Africa. We are excited to also share that we work with the government agencies or public sector units in India, as well as large infrastructure companies within India. We take pride that our solution or our software has been implemented on more than 200 plus active projects in India today. And these are prestigious projects right from up north to down south, from east to west. To name a few projects, for example, we implemented on Tata projects. We're working on Nalanda University. We're working on EMOR commercial complexes in Kolkata. We're working on Goa shipyard projects. And then these are the many such 200 plus projects within the Indian subcontinent as well, that these software solutions are there. Before we also, what you can expect in the presentation now, in broadly about 6 to 7 minutes, is we will briefly talk about a global context in terms of the numbers of where we're coming from, and then deep dive slightly into from an Indian context as well. And so next slide, please. These numbers can be quite daunting if you see in the first go, but while there's that a quote from a famous politician from India, Mr. Shashi Tharoor, he says, if you don't know where you're coming from, you never appreciate where you're going. And so we take a cue from that. And so we've taken the global numbers from 2020 and take a span of about 10 years from now. And while these numbers are validated by established government agencies like United Nations or private consulting companies, established ones like McKinsey, I'll make it slightly easier when you look at these numbers. If we go on to the next slide, please. So what you see if we start from the left side, what you see is a global population today. And then in the span of about 10 years, you can expect an increment of about 5% in terms of the global population. However, what's exciting to know is that the digital population, the people that will start using technology in their daily lives, will increase by a whopping 70%. So from a 4.4 billion people, it would jump on to about 7.5 billion. Now, but however, if we specifically come to a construction industry, it's established that today its inefficiency in the construction industry is at $1.6 trillion, which is globally capped at $10.6 trillion. Now, however, what you can see is the inefficiency increases by 100%, approximate 100%, and comes at $3 trillion with the current patterns. Whereas the actual net worth of the construction industry would only increase by 50%. So what that leads to is a point, next slide please, that a $10.6 trillion industry is bleeding to about 10 to 30%. And then this is basically to the mismanagement and the inefficiencies. Now, while this is going to get doubled up if we do not change the way it's working, let's also understand that infrastructure industry is one of the largest contributors today in terms of dump waste, in terms of noise pollution, in terms of water pollution, and then last but not the least, about 40% of the air pollution is contributed from the infrastructure industry. Next slide, please. And so, no presentations, I think, could be complete if we don't talk about the impact of COVID. And while this has been, like we say, a COVID era, we feel that it's changed everybody on a personal and a professional level. But keeping our conversation to a professional and then talking specifically about our industry, which is construction, these are again studies by McKinsey and other leading consulting firms, where there have been unique challenges within the construction industry. While uncertainty tops the chart, people don't know what they need to plan, how they need to proceed. And specifically, if you understand the construction industry, while you guys are people with vast experience and exposure, you will appreciate that construction is just not about supply chain of material. It's highly labor intensive. That means it's also about shifting people from one side to another. And so therefore, while it's a very in-person project, we need to also account for the productivity or the cost and delays with respect to material and manpower. And so therefore, while we all love to talk about technology on our daily lives, construction industry specifically is one of the last in terms of adopting to technology. Now today, this is no more just an option. It's absolutely a necessity. It's not a luxury anymore. And so therefore, if we jump on to the next slide, we've also been looking at, in terms of the pattern, when we look at leading construction industry, and then why technology is changing the way that we're building today. And then while India has been one of a growing economy on a global platform, the Indian subcontinent also is not far behind. And so therefore, where the majority of the industry would say that 50% of the future is how we work. But actually the leaders have actually already made it a backbone for everything that what they do. And that's the difference between who's leading and who will possibly be leading in the next 10 years. Companies who've actually made it as a backbone have come back with validated studies again. We're enhancing about the efficiencies in the productivity by more than 40%. Time is one of the biggest reason for a legal dispute in construction infrastructure projects. Anybody who still watches the news will again agree with me on this. Projects which are looked at for 2 years would not get completed in 3, and so on. And so therefore, those timeline delays is again a key contributor to escalation in terms of the cost of a project. While sensibilities are very different, I'll share an ironical story. Our solution, we also work on a humongous amount of data from our customers. And we work on predictive analytics of what can happen while we were making a presentation to our customer in Abu Dhabi, we showed them a case study of how the humongous data and with predictive analytics, we could absolutely save accidents on the site. And so we presented them that how they could avoid simple incidents on the site, and that could actually help them save lives. While we made a presentation for about 20 minutes, one of the management person said, well, you've been talking about saving lives. Tell us how we can save cost. And we realized not that their sensibilities were not towards saving lives, they wanted to save cost. We went back with that learning, and we were making a presentation to Shell in Canada. And this is one of the a big LNG project that they have of a pipeline project in the US. We went in with the same sensibilities and told them that here we can do a predictive analytics and show you how you can save cost on a very expensive project that you have to. And after about 10 minutes or so, one of the person attending said, why are you talking about saving cost? Tell us how we can save lives and ensure that there are no accidents. So what I mean to say is that the sensibilities across the world, the priorities could be different. But however, safety is also one of the key concerns in the Indian construction industry today. It's no more how we used to function maybe 20 or 30 years before, but how we wish to function today. And next slide, please. And so therefore, in terms of our trace cost solution, we are a comprehensive platform. I did mention about a few projects in India. There are a couple of other projects also mentioned as an example. These are Expressway Ethiopia highway projects, infrastructure projects in Mongolia. However, these projects are chosen to explain you the software solution is implemented on projects irrespective of the typology. So it could be a residential project, it could be a linear project like a road project, it could be an infrastructure project like a shipyard. But however, commercial projects or linear projects like a gas pipeline are projects that we have already implemented our software solution on. Next slide, please. So we take pride that in terms of the solution that we have to offer has a web application as well as a handheld device application which works on a tablet or a mobile phone, irrespective of the background of an Android or an iOS. It helps people to also actually enter data even if they are not in a network zone. Anybody from the construction industry will realize that people on the ground are actually in places where they're far away from a network or don't have the luxury of a Wi-Fi. And so therefore the data that they punch in is most of the time on an offline app mode. Whenever they come back to a network zone, the data gets uploaded to the cloud. And so therefore that visibility on a dashboard of that data is there. Next slide, please. These are a lot of modules, and while Payal also mentioned that the presentations are going to be shared with everyone on the roundtable today and the audience otherwise. So, but however, on a higher level, why we say it's a platform and not a point solution, because very often than not, you will find a lot of scheduling softwares, a lot of planning softwares, a lot of independent billing or invoicing or safety softwares. However, the problem with technology adoption is that by the time you start picking up individual point solutions, in a couple of years, you'll realize that you have 5 or 6 different softwares within the company, and you have issues in managing all of them. And so therefore, what we give them an opportunity is to pick up independent modules one by one. However, luxury of actually scaling up as they feel comfortable. So they can pick up more modules as well. And then comprehensively within the organization itself, if an employee shifts from one department to another, they don't need to enhance their skill sets of learning another software, where that becomes one of the biggest reasons for resistance or a change management. However, it's easier for them because they're working on the same tool. And so therefore, you could sum it up and say that it's an enterprise resource planning system. Next slide, please. So we've been fortunate that we've been covered by the media in the Indian subcontinent, as well as from national publications to Times of India to leading online portals such as Your Story or Inc. 42. There are many other established publications as well, and media channels too. We take pride again that we work with owners, consultants, and contractors. These are three important stakeholders in an infrastructure project. Certainly, they're project managers and suppliers as a fourth and a fifth stakeholder, but the key decision makers come from these three stakeholders. And so we've been working with them. On a larger level, as what I just showed you from the beginning, we'll try and keep our presentation concise. We think that will be a success if we've been able to share certain knowledge, not from the Treshpa's perspective, but from a generic industry data. It'll be a win-win for us. Having said that, that'll be all from us today. Thank you for your patience, and we're happy to take questions offline or whenever it's convenient. Thank you so much, and thank you all.
Thank you so much, Prab. And I'm actually very glad to see a lot of questions coming in already in the chat box. So thank you, Abhishek, Anindya, Ray, and Ankit for already addressing it right there. I believe that the people are able to see the chat box since the questions and the answers have been addressed to everyone. But with that, we come to the end of the presentation and we will be opening the floor. So this is largely your forum for the Indian audience. So please, by all means, feel free to ask any questions, any comments, any queries, any suggestions, anything that you would want to discuss. So we open the floor now. It is over to you. And if you have any queries, you can use a chat box, put your camera on, start speaking. Over to you. Thank you.
I have a question to the representatives in Northeast India and perhaps India in general. So as based on this discussion and outcome of several technologies that we presented, what is the normal course of progression, or what is the next step? Again, the question is for the representatives from the Northeast India and India in general.
Before we do that, can I also request whoever is asking the question, please to identify yourself? Thank you.
Sorry, this is Ray Chaudhary from Edmonton, Canada, working for Guardian Fire Shield.
Okay, so this is Sudeep here. So I'll just try and answer this question. I think most of these solutions that we are talking about was for government clients of smart cities or Swachh Bharat schemes, etc. And all of those would go through a normal bidding process. So we will need to reach this to the local bodies. I think one of the key hesitations that we are having in terms of the local bodies is that they are finding it difficult. While we do have funds for the capital expenditure, we finding it difficult for the operational maintenance part of it. And the second thing is that also there is a little bit of worry on who will run this, who will operate this, and ensure that the key performance indicators that have been indicated are ensured. So today most of these such solutions are being offered on a capital plus a 5 years operation maintenance expense. So I think it is best that we go with solutions designed in that way. On part of ICC, what we will do is that these solutions we will circulate to some of these smart cities and urban local bodies in the East and North Seas. We'll take their interest and we'll connect them with you. But it would be important to structure it along with an operation maintenance.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, this is Shomiron Sen. I'm a member of this ICC Committee on Infrastructure. My question is addressed to Mr. Bajpayee of Russell Group. Now, the equipment that the group has developed or been marketing is applicable mainly to, it seems to me, on circular cross sections of metallic elements like pipes. Now, I work in the highways and the bridges sector. I was wondering whether that same technology can be used for detecting defect in structural steel in bridges and structures. Or can we go out of the circular cross-section domain to the non-regular, I mean, non-circular like T or I girders or plates and stuff like that?
Mr. Sen, thank you for the question, and it is a great question. The reason I only included the round geometries is because I was informed about the audience, and you are very well diversified. Now, I'll give you two case studies where this technology has been used in the similar configuration. One is the tank bottom plate of an above ground storage tank in Saudi Arabia. And that tank bottom was coated with fiberglass. And second is the same technology was used on the same tank roof, which was insulated, and the jacket was corrugated. So it is irregular geometry. And the diameter of the tank was around 100 meters. So yes, short answer, yes, it can work on flat surfaces.
Thank you, Mr. Bajpayee.
Thank you, Mr. Singh.
Do we have any more questions coming in? Any interest? Any queries?
Payal, this is Amit here. So again, thanks for the opportunity. It will be great for me personally, I guess, to learn a little bit more about the type of opportunities or the different working activities that's currently occurring in the eastern and the northern eastern part of India. What would that look like, or what are some things that are on the horizon, or the challenges, in the context of the opportunities that are there in that part of the country? So it'll be great to get a little bit of information and context on that. That'll be very helpful.
Thanks, Amit. Mr. Datta, over to you, please.
Yeah, so let me try to answer this. So a couple of things. On the urban side, one of the most critical things that we are grappling with is on the solid waste management, particularly in terms of segregation management, because the segregation is not happening and therefore nothing else is working out. The second thing that we have is we also have a substantial amount of legacy waste, which we are not able to sort out. It's continuously piling up. Amit, you did mention about private sector participation not being there in the smart city, and I agree with you. That has been one of the biggest problems. It's a bigger problem in Northeast because the state level funding is not very strong, and then on top of it, private sector participation is not happening. So we've not been able to really progress as much as we wanted in the smart city segment because of lack of funding. And therefore, as I said, that anything that helps us in limiting the upfront capital payment of the government would really help us. You also spoke about various solutions. So we have about 100 smart cities that are being implemented. We have another 8 smart cities which will be coming up with a larger. So like these smart cities had about 500 crores per city from the center. We are looking at some more 8 cities coming in with 1,000 crores per center. The Swachh Bharat mission is coming in with a pretty large outlay. We also having a very large program on the water supply section, which aims at having one functional tap in every single house, both in rural and urban. It's a very large project. We're looking at about 275,000 crores being invested in the next 4 to 5 years. So clearly, water and sanitation are the key priorities as far as India is concerned at this point of time. The other area that we have in the Northeast is we have a lot of these riverfronts and canals which are running right through the cities, which are degraded, which is not only putting a pressure on the quality of life of Northeastern people, but also hampering the drainage solutions. Again, we are looking at solutions which can be implemented on this part. We have command centers that have been set up in all the northeastern capitals. So the solutions that we now provide would need to be compatible with the command centers that have already been invested. I think there has been a lot of public acceptance of the command center after the COVID experience. Well, earlier it used to be looked at as a very expensive solution, but it really worked out in the. So we're looking at really using the the command center, not only for transportation or solid waste, but extending it to healthcare, maybe education, all sites of urban services. And the other part that we are also looking at is to see how urban services can reach at the doorstep of every resident, whether it is urban or rural, so that they do not have to move to centers even at the district level, but we really go down to the last level. So that's one priority. West Bengal, where I stay, is of course the government is extremely committed to provide door-to-door urban services, as they call it. And that idea has really got on across East and Northeast. So I think these are some of the priorities that we feel that are there. And Northeast solutions will really need to be tempered according to that area. That's an area which has different kind of terrain, different kind of funding patterns. The capacity is also different because again, we are also looking at exploring as to see how the urban capacities can be improved. Because the smart cities have suddenly, they have the procurements that are being done by each of the urban local bodies have gone something like 30-40x times over that in the last 3-4 years. And what it has done also is that the local bodies are now more receptive to smart solutions. But provided, whoever comes with a smart solution is ready to run with it for the next 4-5 years. So that's probably what I would think of.
No, thank you so much, Mr. Datta. That is pretty informing. That resonates with us particularly because that's one of the models we've been pretty successful working with other smart cities in the PPP. And as you has outlined, sometimes the capital expenditures are too intensive and it prohibits for companies like us to participate. So we have come up with some creative models to work with the municipalities, and it's been pretty successful. I can share that information with Payal offline, how that worked and how we look forward to working with municipalities in the northeastern part of the country as well. Personally, I did visit it like as far as Sikkim, Gangtok, and all that northeast part, and it's very beautiful. It's a very refreshing one of the, I would say that's next to like Kashmir, that part of the India. So it's very beautiful.
Thank you, Amit. In fact, you'll be happy to hear that we do have a couple of gentlemen with us who are representing those smart cities up in the Northeast, and they have been part of our discussions and heard you as well. So I'm very sure that you would be, hearing more from them. But Mr. Datta, if I may come up with a question from my own side for you, since you are the industry expert and specially for that region, what I'm very curious and which I have been seeing in other regions is, after the COVID, a lot of these sectors, especially in infrastructure, they have become more receptive to adopting technologies. So especially in your region, when we look at things, how has COVID kind of made that particular change to be more tech oriented in terms of infrastructure projects?
So we are working nationally. So I think all across India, wherever we are going, and so we are finding people to be more receptive to technology. But at the same time, we need to recognize while there is some level of understanding, we don't have the resources to run those technology or to understand those technology properly. So what would work out on these technologies is that we would very strongly encourage if we could start up taking one small pilot project on some sort of PPP basis. When that would be successful in any of these regions, that could be complemented, that could be replicated in various places. So it could be East, it could be Northeast, it could be other parts of the country. So I think that is the best thing that we found to be very successful. And so it's been COVID, and I think it's also a natural fallout of the smart city program. I think India started with thinking that we should have 10 smart cities, then it became 20, then it 40, and ultimately we had 100. So because it has been spread out thinly, the impact may not have been as strong as we thought initially it should have, but it has changed the thinking pattern. And I think that is what we need to leverage on.
Great. Thank you. That's heartening to know. Yes, yes, Alex, please go ahead.
I am Alec James Stewart with Guardian Fire Shield. I wanted to again acknowledge our appreciation for this extraordinary opportunity. Are there any members of the guests that are dealing with the insurance side of municipal protection, et cetera, for infrastructure? And the reason I'm asking that is that Guardian Fire Shield, at least in the North American market, are the only company that puts in place a certificate of liability insurance. And with the launch of GFS 365, second quarter 2022, we'll be monitoring upwards of 9 different algorithms on the performance of our product in the room in which it's installed. So I was appreciative of hearing the AI commitment that En route has. I think there's a lot of complementarity in terms of further integration with existing companies on this call. But with respect to monitoring, what our insurance companies are telling us, with a year of algorithms, our underwriter, Lloyd's of London, will start subsidizing Guardian Fire Shield to market. And I asked the reason why. Well, in 2019 in North America, related building fires, $11.2 billion in fire insurance claims. And what was found very intriguing for me, and Ray spoke to that in his presentation, of those fires and that insurance claim, 38% of the insurance claim was tied to the fire. The balance of the claim was tied to water damage, something I had not appreciated when we brought our technology to market. So in working with the Northeast section, working with the member municipalities and area as a whole, be they government, municipal, commercial, institutional, recreational, our technology will help mitigate those risks. And I think in collaboration with existing insurers in India, we want to be able to recognize that there's an opportunity to bring down those risks and bring down those premiums that homeowners and businesses and governments pay around the cost associated with fire. At the end of the day, it's about bringing mitigation and education, bringing down those related costs. And Guardian Fire Shield was brought to market with that in mind. So to something like the presentation by Amit for En route, we too will have an app. We could probably integrate it with your own software. It's all about capturing technology, sharing it seamlessly to our stakeholders and customers alike, providing the peace of mind that all of our collective technologies can provide the governments, communities, et cetera. So this has been an extraordinary opportunity for me to listen. I want to thank Paella and the entire team for this opportunity to introduce to all of you, to listen to your stories, to listen to the Canadian companies that we're presenting as well, because all of them were new to me. So I appreciated that opportunity. And we're welcoming the opportunity of coming into India, working with our Indian partners, RMC Recovery, building infrastructure and manufacturing capacity, and entering into an extraordinary geography that has so much opportunity, not only within India, but exporting out of India with our technology into Asia. So on behalf of the Guardian Fire Shield team, our sincere thank you for this opportunity.
Thanks, Alex. So the floor is open, everybody. Any more questions from both sides?
If I may ask another question, this is pretty intriguing because as you have noticed, a lot of our companies, software technologies, IoT based AI, they leverage, the connectivity quite heavily. And of course, we have offline options as well. So what does the connectivity, looks like in the northern eastern part, in terms of India's moving forward with 5G connectivity and so on and so forth. So what does that landscape looks like in eastern and northern eastern India?
I don't think connectivity is an issue in the east, and at least not in the northeastern capitals. There's been substantial amount of investments that are doing. A lot of private sector investments have also come in. So most of the smart cities applications are through the net. So I don't think connectivity will be a challenge, at least in the capital cities of the Northeast, and definitely throughout the East. I don't think that's a problem.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Gupta. That is helpful.
If there are no questions, I'll now go to the concluding remarks. And I just wanted to highlight something which might have been missed in the initial part of the presentation is when you talk about the eastern part of India, and when you're talking about West Bengal or Kolkata, which is the former capital of India, we are looking at almost like a regional integration because we have two landlocked countries, Nepal and Bhutan, which uses the Calcutta port for all their essentials for getting them into their countries. And apart from that, historically, Bangladesh has been heavily reliant on commercial products from India. While they are good in textiles, but there are a good number of products which go from West Bengal to Bangladesh through the road. But when we look at the Northeast policy, the essential element for that was to look at how this strategic region could connect into Southeast Asia. In fact, we have come up with a road project called the Asian Highway, which is supposed to connect Nepal, Bhutan right up to Thailand. And certain parts of the road is already ready, but certain parts have come under a little bit of, I would say, suspicion because of the situation in Myanmar. So when that connectivity will happen till Thailand is perhaps a little bit questionable, but definitely the road is ready till Bangladesh. And apart from that, what Mr. Agarwal initially highlighted is, when you talk about that, the challenges which are faced by the Northeast, maybe 30, 40 years ago, the issue of geographical isolation. But if you consider India as a whole, and if you look at the growth pattern of India, perhaps the region which requires a lot of infrastructure growth is the eastern and the northeastern part of India. Because if you look at Western India, the growth has been quite substantial. If you look at North India, the growth has been quite substantial. So that additional growth which we are looking at to add up to the India success story actually is in the eastern and the northeastern part. And you have seen newspaper items like Uttar Pradesh is coming up with several infrastructure projects. And these were not, realty maybe 20 years ago. So with that, what I would like to do as the next step, since Sudhir Datta himself is an expert, a regional expert and a national expert in this particular area, I would say that, we will not leave it at this, conference, but with his help, we'll try and figure out a way to get you guys connected with the northeastern and the northeastern side, and we'll work with the Indian Chamber of Commerce to see how we can have that done. So thank you everyone for your time, and it was indeed a very good session. At one point of time, we had a very high number of participants. I think now the number has come down, but that's not the end because we're looking at this as a beginning. Thank you very much. So with that, we end the show.
Yeah, thanks to everyone. Good night and good morning to all.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
It was a really great